As the war in Ukraine grinds on, Russia and the Western powers are looking for ways to inflict economic pressure on each other. In the latest, the G7 countries have come to an agreement over a price cap on Russian oil, even as Russia has delayed opening the Nord Stream 1 gas pipeline. For more on this, take a look at our report.
The stakes in an energy war between Moscow and the West over the war in Ukraine were raised on Friday, with the group of 7 rich countries agreeing to try to cap the global price of Russian oil and Russia delaying the reopening of its main gas pipeline to Germany. A deadline had been set for Saturday to resume gas flows via the Nord Stream 1 pipeline, one of the main supply routes to Europe. But that deadline was scrapped, with Russia's state-controlled energy giant Gazprom blaming a technical fault. Gazprom said it couldn't provide a timeline for when deliveries will resume. The announcement deepens Europe's difficulties securing fuel for winter as it faces an energy-driven surge in living costs. Moscow has blamed sanctions imposed by the West after Russia's invasion of Ukraine for hampering routine operations and maintenance of Nord Stream 1. Brussels says Russia is using gas as an economic weapon to retaliate. Earlier on Friday, finance ministers from the G7 wealthy democracies announced they would impose a price cap on Russian oil with the aim of slashing Moscow's revenue and avoiding price hikes. Moscow said it would halt oil sales to countries imposing the cap. While key details such as the per-barrel price level are still to be resolved, the White House says collective efforts are already working.
The impact of our efforts to implement a price cap is already bearing fruit. Reports show that Russia is already offering steep discounts, as much as 30%, and long-term contracts to some countries.
All of this comes as Moscow and Kyiv trade blame over actions at one of the war's most dangerous front lines, the Russian-occupied Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, where fears have grown in recent weeks over a potential disaster.
Now, for more on this, we are being joined by Oleg Savitsky, who is from Kiev, an energy policy expert and campaign manager of Razom We Stand. Thank you for being with us on this broadcast. Now, Gazprom is saying the halt is due to an oil leak, but is it necessary for the pipeline to remain shut? Some experts are saying no. What are your thoughts?
It's obvious that this is just a manipulation on the Gazprom side. The pipeline is in perfect technical conditions, and what Russia is actually doing is just a clear aggression using energy weapon, and they burn the gas that is not supplied to Europe. They just burn it instead of respecting the contracts and supplying what was contracted. So they basically flare the gas that they withhold.
Now, do you expect the energy prices to rise even further in Europe now that the pipeline has been shut indefinitely?
I don't think so, because European Commission has taken precautionary steps. There is already some reserves of gas accumulated in gas storages, and Europe has increased imports of LNG gas. So this leverage that Putin thinks he has is not so strong as before.
Right. Now, Oleg, you've touched on it, but Europe is racing to store up enough energy for their winter months. Now, do you think that they will be able to do enough to get through the colder months?
Certainly, some rationing would be necessary, and the plan to reduce gas consumption is absolutely necessary. And not just for the sake of the energy security and avoiding interruptions in supply, but also it's a rational thing to do in well, we live now in a world of climate emergency, And Europe has to do something really ambitious to both progress in this fight with Russia and in climate action. And that means actually structural changes that will result in cutting gas demand.
Right. Oleg, thank you very much for being with us on this broadcast and bringing us on the latest on the HalterNet pipeline.
Thanks.
WION, now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.